Picture this. You wake up every morning feeling scattered, saying things you regret, drowning in negative thoughts, riding emotional roller coasters, and watching money slip through your fingers like sand. Sound familiar? What if I told you that highly successful people, from CEOs to athletes to everyday achievers, have discovered something powerful? They don't try to control everything in their lives. Instead, they focus on just 4 key elements that create a ripple effect, transforming everything else. These aren't complex theories or expensive programs. They're 4 basic areas you already interact with every single day: your mouth, your mind, your mood, and your money. Here's what's incredible. When you learn to control these 4 M's, they work together like a perfectly tuned orchestra. Your words become intentional, your thoughts become focused, your emotions become stable, and your finances become abundant. Ready to discover how this wave-like progression can revolutionize your life? If this resonates with you, hit that like button right now. Which of these 4 M's do you struggle with most? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you're new here, subscribe for the complete journey through mastering these 4 powerful elements. Let's dive in. All right, let's start with the first of our 4 M's, controlling your mouth. Think about it. Your words aren't just sounds floating into the air. They literally shape your reality. Every sentence you speak can build bridges or burn them down, open doors or slam them shut. It's like the foundation of a house. Get this right, and everything else stands strong. Picture a time when you blurted out something in anger, maybe during an argument with a friend or at work. Those careless words, they can shatter trust faster than you can say, "Sorry." I've seen it happen. A single offhand comment derails a relationship, or a negative rant costs you a job opportunity because it paints you as unreliable. Your speech sets the tone for how people see you, and once those words are out, you can't reel them back in. That's why mastering this starts with awareness. Recognize how loose lips sink ships, not just in old sayings, but in your everyday life. To drive this home, remember the classic idea that the tongue is like a rudder on a massive ship. It might be small, but it steers the whole vessel. Your life, your direction. A tiny slip can veer you off course into stormy waters, while deliberate, positive language keeps you sailing smooth. The power of your words extends beyond just affecting others. They reshape your own mindset too. When you constantly complain, "I can't do this," or "this always happens to me," you're literally programming your brain for failure. But flip the script with phrases like, "I'm figuring this out," or "I'm improving every day," and watch how your confidence grows. Let me share something that happened to me last week. I was about to send an angry email to a client who missed a deadline. My fingers were flying across the keyboard, venting all my frustration. But something made me pause before hitting send. I stepped away, took a breath, and rewrote it completely. The result? Instead of burning that bridge, we had a productive conversation that actually strengthened our working relationship. That's mouth control in action. Not suppressing your thoughts, but expressing them in ways that create solutions rather than problems. This week, I challenge you to become aware of your speech patterns. Notice how often you complain versus express gratitude. Pay attention to how your words affect the energy in a room. Are you the person who lifts others up or drags them down? Small adjustments here create massive ripple effects throughout your life. Remember, controlling your mouth isn't about censoring yourself. It's about becoming intentional with one of your most powerful tools. Master this first M, and you've laid the groundwork for transforming everything else. In our next chapter, we'll take this foundation and build on it with advanced techniques for speaking with purpose. Ever notice how the most successful people seem to choose their words with laser precision? That's no accident. Now that you've learned why your words matter, it's time for the game-changing upgrade. Speaking with deliberate purpose. This isn't just avoiding saying the wrong thing. It's about making every word a strategic move toward the life you want. Here's a shocking truth. The average person wastes about 70% of their verbal energy on words that either damage their reputation or contribute nothing to their goals. Think about that. What if you could redirect that wasted power? The single most transformative technique I've discovered is the power pause. In a world of knee-jerk reactions and instant responses, that tiny moment of silence before you speak is your secret weapon. Picture this. Your colleague takes credit for your work in a meeting. Your blood boils. Most people immediately fire back with something they'll regret. But champions of purposeful speech, they pause. In that split second, they ask, Will my next words move me toward my goals or away from them? I watched a friend transform from being passed over for promotions to becoming a department head in 8 months, simply by mastering this pause technique. Then there's the practice of strategic affirmations. Not the fluffy kind, but verbal commitments that rewire your brain and influence others. Before important interactions, try declaring, "I'm choosing words that create solutions today," or "My communication builds trust and opportunity." These aren't just positive thoughts, they're verbal programming that shapes how you express yourself. A client of mine started prefacing sales calls with the affirmation, "I communicate value clearly and confidently." Her close rate jumped 34% in 1 quarter. The impact of purposeful speech extends far beyond the moment. Consider how differently people respond to these two approaches. When Sarah's team missed a deadline, she unleashed, "You guys always drop the ball. This is exactly why we're falling behind." The result, defensive team members and zero progress. Meanwhile, Michael faced the same situation but paused, then said, "I notice we've missed our target date. What obstacles got in our way, and how can we remove them next time?" Same situation, dramatically different outcome. His team openly shared challenges and developed solutions together. This level of verbal mastery creates a ripple effect in every relationship. Friends and family start coming to you for advice. Colleagues seek your input on difficult situations. Why? Because they've experienced how your words create clarity instead of chaos. Your influence expands naturally because people trust what comes out of your mouth. The most powerful demonstration of advanced mouth control isn't just in what you say, but in how deliberately you say it. Think of yourself as a verbal architect, constructing pathways to your desired outcomes with each carefully chosen phrase. When you negotiate, your purposeful language helps others see mutual benefits. When you give feedback, your words inspire improvement rather than resentment. By practicing these techniques daily, the power pause before speaking and strategic affirmations, you're not just avoiding verbal mistakes, you're actively creating the reality you want through your words. This mastery sets the perfect foundation for our next level, discovering when silence itself becomes your most powerful communication tool. In a world where everyone's talking, the real power move. Knowing when to shut up. Welcome to the peak of mouth control, mastering the strategic art of silence and active listening. Think about the last time you were in a heated argument. Words flying, emotions rising, and suddenly you've said something you instantly regret. We've all been there. But what if I told you that the most influential people in any room aren't those talking the most, but those who've mastered when not to speak? This isn't just philosophical, it's practical power. Let me share what happened with my client James, a tech executive known for his brilliant but abrasive communication style. During a critical negotiation with a potential investor, James was ready with counterpoints for every concern raised. But after our coaching, he tried something different. When the investor expressed hesitation about market timing, instead of launching into his prepared defense, James simply nodded, maintained eye contact, and asked, "Tell me more about your concerns there." The silence that followed was magnetic. The investor elaborated, revealing his real worry wasn't timing but team experience. That single moment of restraint completely redirected the conversation, addressing the actual objection rather than the stated one. The result? A $2.4 million investment that would have been lost had James followed his usual approach. This is what I call the power vacuum technique. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so do conversations. When you create silence, others feel compelled to fill it, often with exactly the information you need most. During my corporate training sessions, I've watched executives transform difficult negotiations simply by becoming comfortable with 10 seconds of silence after asking a question. 10 seconds. It feels like an eternity but reveals gold. The impact extends beyond business. Consider Melissa, who was locked in a cycle of escalating arguments with her teenage daughter. Every conversation about grades or curfews would erupt into shouting matches. The breakthrough came when Melissa committed to active listening, not just waiting for her turn to speak, but truly absorbing what her daughter said without interruption. When her daughter complained about unfair rules, Melissa's new response was simply, "I hear you feel the rules are unfair. What would feel more reasonable to you?" That pause and reflection completely diffused the power struggle. Within weeks, their relationship transformed from combative to collaborative. The science backs this up. Neurological research shows that when someone feels truly heard, which happens through attentive silence, not rapid responses, the brain's threat response deactivates. Teams with members who practice deliberate listening resolve conflicts 30% more efficiently, according to research from Harvard Business School. The data is clear. Strategic silence doesn't just feel better, it produces measurable results. But mastering silence isn't passive. It's an active discipline requiring 3 specific techniques. First, practice the 3-second rule before responding to any important question. This tiny pause prevents reactive communication and signals thoughtfulness. Second, develop reflective listening by occasionally summarizing what you've heard before adding your perspective. Try "what I'm understanding is," or "it sounds like your main concern is." This validation creates trust that's almost impossible to build through talking alone. Third, use the curiosity approach by asking follow-up questions instead of making statements. Replace "that won't work because" with "what makes you confident about that approach." The difference in how your message is received is staggering. I witnessed the ultimate demonstration of this at a leadership summit where 2 competing executives were deadlocked over strategy. The more experienced leader, instead of leveraging his authority to force his view, simply asked, "What would make this approach successful in your opinion?" and then went silent. That question, followed by attentive listening, led to a hybrid solution better than either original proposal. His silence created space for collaboration rather than competition. The peak of mouth control isn't found in clever comebacks or persuasive pitches. It's in the disciplined power of strategic silence and genuine listening. As you master this final aspect of verbal discipline, you'll discover that what you don't say often carries more influence than what you do, and that's the perfect foundation for our next frontier, controlling the thoughts behind those carefully chosen words, or the wisdom to withhold them. Have you ever noticed how your day completely transforms after someone says exactly the right thing, or the wrong thing? That's because what comes out of our mouths begins somewhere deeper. We've mastered controlling our words, but now it's time to go to the source, your mind. Think of it like this. If your words are the visible part of an iceberg, your thoughts are the massive structure beneath the surface. And just like an iceberg, what's underneath determines everything about what shows up above. I remember working with Michael, a brilliant software engineer whose team presentations were sabotaged by his own negative thinking. Before every meeting, his mind would race. "They'll think my ideas are stupid," or "someone's going to point out a flaw I missed." Guess what happened? His presentations became defensive, overcomplicated, and ultimately ineffective. We didn't fix his PowerPoint slides. We fixed the thoughts creating them. After implementing a pre-presentation mental routine where he visualized successful outcomes instead of failures, his team reported a completely different presenter had shown up. Same person, same technical knowledge, but his thoughts had changed, so his words changed, and everything else followed. This connection between mind and mouth isn't just theory, it's science. Neuroimaging studies from UCLA show that negative thought patterns activate the brain's stress response, literally changing how we form sentences and process information. When researchers taught subjects to redirect negative thought loops, their communication clarity improved by 42% under pressure. The transition from mouth control to mind control happens naturally when you start noticing the thought behind the word. For instance, when you catch yourself about to say, "This is impossible," pause and trace it back. What thought generated that statement? Usually something like, "I don't see a solution right now," or "I'm feeling overwhelmed." Once identified, you can redirect the thought, which automatically transforms what you say. Let me share what happened with Elaine, a sales director I coached last year. Her team meetings had become venting sessions where problems got amplified rather than solved. When we analyzed the pattern, we discovered her own thought loop of "everything's falling apart" was setting the tone before she even opened her mouth. We implemented a simple thought redirect technique. Before each meeting, she'd ask herself, "What's working well that we can build on?" This single mental shift completely transformed her opening statements from "we've got serious problems to address" to "we've made progress in these areas and now let's tackle our next challenges." Within 3 weeks, her team's problem-solving efficiency increased by 34%. This isn't positive thinking fluff, it's strategic mental positioning. Navy SEALs use similar techniques before high-stakes missions, calling it mental rehearsal. They don't just control what they say during operations. They control the thoughts that determine those words. The bridge from mouth to mind works in both directions. Your controlled speech patterns actually begin reshaping your thought patterns over time. It's like creating a feedback loop of excellence. When you consistently pause before speaking, as we learned in our mouth control chapters, you're actually training your mind to be more deliberate and strategic. Consider this real-world example. When Jamie, a conflict-avoidant manager, started using the pause technique before responding to criticism, something unexpected happened. Not only did his responses improve, but he noticed his thoughts about criticism changed from "they're attacking me" to "they're giving me information I can use." The mouth control technique actually rewired his mental approach. As we move into mind control techniques, remember that this isn't about suppressing thoughts or creating artificial positivity. It's about becoming the architect of your mental environment rather than its victim. Just as you wouldn't let just anyone speak into a microphone at your event, why would you let any random thought direct your internal conversation? In our next chapter, we'll explore specific techniques to identify thought patterns, interrupt negative loops, and install powerful mental frameworks that serve your goals. The foundation we've built with mouth control gives us the perfect launching pad for this next level of mastery. Because when you control your mind, your words follow naturally. And when both align, that's when the magic happens, in your relationships, your career, and ultimately, in creating the life you truly want. Your mind is the command center of your entire life. Think about it. Every word you speak, every action you take, every result you create begins with a thought. And today, we're going to master the art of taming those thoughts. Did you know that according to research from Stanford University, the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day? And an astounding 80% of those thoughts are negative? That's right. Your brain is literally wired to focus on problems, threats, and worst-case scenarios. This isn't a personal failing, it's human evolution. But in today's world, this negativity bias is sabotaging your success. Let's start with awareness, the foundation of mind control. Throughout your day, your brain generates thousands of automatic thoughts that you barely notice. These stealth thoughts are making decisions for you without your permission. I'm not good enough for this promotion. They probably don't like me. I'll never get out of debt. Sound familiar? I worked with Alex, a marketing executive who was brilliant at strategy, but kept getting passed over for leadership positions. When we tracked his thought patterns, we discovered that before every executive meeting, his mind would flood with thoughts like, "I don't belong at this table," and "they'll see through me eventually." These thoughts weren't just harmless mental chatter. They were literally changing his body language, voice tone, and confidence level in those meetings. After implementing a daily thought tracking practice, Alex identified his 3 most damaging thought patterns and created specific replacements for each. Within 6 months, he was promoted to VP of Marketing. Same skills, different thoughts. The science behind this is fascinating. Neuroscientists at Harvard Medical School have shown that repetitive negative thoughts create neural pathways in the brain, actual physical grooves that make those thought patterns easier to repeat. But here's the breakthrough discovery. Focused thought redirection can create new neural pathways in as little as 21 days of consistent practice. Think of your mind like a garden. Those negative thoughts? They're weeds with deep roots. You wouldn't plant thorny weeds and expect beautiful flowers, right? Every time you allow a thought like, "I always mess this up," to go unchallenged, you're watering those weeds. The solution isn't to ignore them. It's to actively pull them out and plant something better. Try this powerful exercise that's transformed thousands of my clients' lives, the 5-minute mental reset. Each morning, take 5 minutes to scan for any weed thoughts that sprouted overnight. When you catch one, don't fight it or feel bad about it. Simply ask, "Is this thought helping me move toward my goals or pulling me away from them?" Then consciously replace it with a constructive alternative. For example, if you catch the thought, "I'm too overwhelmed to handle this project," replace it with, "I can break this down into manageable steps and tackle them one by one." Notice we're not using fake positivity like everything is perfect. We're using strategic, actionable thoughts that actually move you forward. A global tech company implemented this 5-minute mental reset with their executive team and measured a 34% reduction in workplace stress and a 27% increase in problem-solving efficiency within just 1 quarter. Small mental shifts create massive real-world results. Another game-changing technique comes from cognitive behavioral therapy, the thought interruption pattern. When you notice a negative thought spiral beginning, physically snap your fingers or touch your wrist and say, "Reset," either out loud or mentally. This pattern interrupt creates a moment of awareness where you can choose a different thought path. Olympic athletes use variations of this technique to maintain peak performance under extreme pressure. Remember, the goal isn't to never have negative thoughts. That's impossible. The goal is to stop letting them drive the car. You want to move from being a passive passenger in your mental experience to taking the driver's seat. As we build on these basics, you'll discover how to sharpen your focus to laser-like precision and use visualization techniques that literally reprogram your brain for success. But it all starts here, with becoming aware of those thought patterns and consciously choosing better ones. Your mind is the most powerful tool you'll ever possess. Master it and everything else follows. Let's level up your mental game with advanced techniques that build directly on the thought control foundation we just established. Today, we're exploring focus exercises and visualization practices that will transform your mental energy from scattered to laser-focused. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they're practical tools that create real resilience and crystal-clear mental clarity. Focus training is where we begin. Just as you'd train your physical muscles at the gym, your brain requires deliberate exercise to build concentration strength. One powerful method is what I call the focus block technique, adapted from the popular Pomodoro method. Here's how it works. Set a timer for 25 minutes and commit to a single task, whether that's a work project, planning your day, or even mindful breathing. During this time, your only job is maintaining complete attention on that one thing. When distracting thoughts inevitably arise, "I should check my email," or "What if I'm doing this wrong?" Acknowledge them without judgment, then gently redirect back to your focus point. According to research from the University of California's Attention Lab, this type of focused attention practice actually strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive function. Their 2019 study found that participants who practiced focused attention for just 20 minutes daily for 3 weeks showed a 32% improvement in task completion and a 27% reduction in self-reported mental fatigue. You're literally building stronger neural pathways that make concentration easier, even under pressure. Take Jessica, a corporate attorney I worked with last year. She was brilliant but constantly overwhelmed by her caseload, jumping between tasks and feeling perpetually behind. After implementing daily focus blocks, she noticed something remarkable. Not only was she completing more work in less time, but her anxiety about deadlines nearly disappeared. The difference is that now when I face a high-pressure situation, my mind automatically narrows in on solutions instead of spiraling into panic, she told me. It's like I've developed mental guardrails that keep me on track. Now let's add visualization, a technique that supercharges your focus with intentional mental imagery. Elite performers across fields have used this method for decades. Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps famously visualized every race in perfect detail before competing, mentally rehearsing each stroke, turn, and victory. This isn't mystical thinking, it's strategic mental programming. A groundbreaking study from the Cleveland Clinic Foundation demonstrated the physical power of visualization. Researchers divided participants into 3 groups, one that physically exercised, one that only visualized exercising, and a control group. After 12 weeks, the physical exercise group increased their muscle strength by 30%, but remarkably, the visualization-only group saw a 13.5% increase in strength without lifting a finger. Their brains were literally strengthening neural pathways through imagination alone. Start simple. Dedicate 5 minutes daily to vividly imagining yourself achieving a specific goal. Engage all your senses. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel the emotions and physical sensations. If your goal is nailing a presentation, visualize walking confidently into the room, delivering your points flawlessly, and receiving enthusiastic responses. The more detailed and emotionally connected your visualization, the more powerful its effect. This is where visualization perfectly complements our foundational thought control. Remember those weed thoughts we pull out during our morning reset? Visualization plants the flowers in their place. By repeatedly imagining success scenarios in rich detail, you're creating positive neural pathways that make those outcomes feel natural and achievable. Consider Marcus, a sales director who struggled with confidence during client pitches despite knowing his product inside and out. We developed a visualization routine where he spent 7 minutes each morning imagining successful meetings, feeling calm, articulating value clearly, and confidently addressing objections. Within 6 weeks, his close rate increased by 24%, and his team noticed the difference immediately. "It's not that the objections stopped coming," Marcus explained, "but now I see them as expected parts of the conversation rather than threats. My mind stays clear instead of clouding with doubt." The combination of focus training and visualization creates a powerful resilience effect. When life inevitably throws challenges your way, whether a project setback, financial stress, or relationship conflict, your trained mind can bounce back faster. Instead of being knocked off course by disruption, you can quickly redirect to solutions and opportunities. Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin's Center for Healthy Minds found that people who regularly practice focused attention and visualization techniques show significantly different brain activity when faced with stressors. Their amygdala, the brain's alarm system, activates less intensely and recovers more quickly, while their prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking center, maintains higher activity. In practical terms, this means you stay clearer and calmer when others are losing their composure. To implement these techniques effectively, I recommend this daily routine. Begin with your 5-minute mental reset to clear negative thought patterns. Follow immediately with a 5-minute visualization focused on your most important current goal. Schedule 2 or 3 25-minute focus blocks throughout your day for your highest priority tasks. The executive team at Westfield Technologies implemented this routine company-wide last year. Their quarterly employee assessment showed a 41% increase in reported mental clarity and a 38% improvement in resilience to setbacks. CEO Jennifer Marsh noted, "The difference is visible in our meetings. People stay on topic, generate better solutions, and recover from challenges without the emotional drain we used to experience." As you practice these techniques consistently, you'll notice your mental landscape transforming. Distractions lose their power. Solutions emerge more readily. Your confidence grows as you experience your own ability to direct your mental energy precisely where you want it. This mental mastery creates the perfect foundation for our next frontier: emotional control. The mind-emotion connection is powerful. Your thoughts directly influence how you feel. As you strengthen your mental focus and visualization abilities, you're simultaneously building the neural architecture for greater emotional stability. In our next chapter, we'll explore how to leverage this connection to master your emotional responses, even in the most challenging situations. For now, commit to practicing these 2 techniques daily. Your focused mind is about to become your greatest asset in creating the life you want. Welcome to the pinnacle of mind control, that coveted state of mental clarity where your thoughts become your most powerful allies. Building on the focus and visualization techniques we've explored, today we're diving into meditation and mindfulness, the true crown jewels for mastering your inner world. Let's be clear. These practices aren't about emptying your mind or chasing some mystical experience. They're practical, science-backed tools that cut through mental noise, sharpen decision-making, and create genuine inner peace that stays with you even during life's storms. Mindfulness is essentially training yourself to remain present without being swept away by every passing thought. Think of it as becoming the calm observer of your mental traffic instead of getting stuck in the jam. A simple way to begin is with breath awareness meditation. Sit comfortably for just 5 minutes, focus on your inhales and exhales, and when your mind wanders, which it absolutely will, gently bring it back without self-criticism. The science here is compelling. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that just 8 weeks of daily mindfulness practice created measurable changes in the brain regions associated with memory, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. Participants showed increased gray matter density in the hippocampus, crucial for learning and memory, while the amygdala, your brain's stress center, actually shrunk in size. For deeper mental mastery, body scan meditation creates remarkable clarity. Lie down or sit comfortably, then mentally travel from your toes to your head, Noticing sensations without judgment. This practice develops what neuroscientists call interoceptive awareness, the ability to recognize subtle internal signals before they escalate into overwhelming emotions or stress responses. Take Michael, a senior executive at a tech startup facing a critical acquisition decision. Despite spreadsheets of data, he felt paralyzed by conflicting advice and his own swirling thoughts. After implementing a daily 15-minute body scan practice, he reported, "The mental noise quieted enough that I could finally hear my own judgment. I recognized which fears were based in reality and which were just mental projections. The decision became clear, and 6 months later, it's proven to be exactly right." The real-world applications are endless. A 2018 study in the Journal of Business Venturing found that entrepreneurs who practiced mindfulness meditation made more effective decisions under uncertainty and showed greater resilience when facing setbacks. They developed what researchers called emotional non-reactivity, the ability to experience challenging emotions without being controlled by them. For peak mental clarity during high-stakes moments, try the 3-3-3 technique. When you feel mental fog or overwhelm approaching, pause and identify 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, and 3 sensations you can feel in your body. This rapid grounding exercise activates your prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala activation, giving you immediate mental clarity when you need it most. Dr. Amishi Jha, neuroscientist at the University of Miami, has extensively studied how these practices affect performance under pressure. Her research with military personnel showed that just 12 minutes of daily meditation improved working memory and reduced mind wandering, critical cognitive functions that deteriorate under stress. The participants maintained clear thinking even during high-pressure simulations that would typically trigger mental chaos. The business impact is equally impressive. When McKinsey implemented mindfulness programs across their organization, they reported a 23% increase in focus, a 28% reduction in stress, and significantly improved decision-making quality among participating consultants. These aren't just subjective benefits, they translate directly to bottom-line results. For those skeptical about fitting this into busy schedules, remember that consistency matters more than duration. Research from the University of Waterloo found that just 10 minutes of daily meditation produced significant improvements in attention control after 8 weeks. The key is making it non-negotiable, like brushing your teeth or checking email. Start with this simple 2-minute practice. Set a timer, close your eyes, and count 10 full breaths. When thoughts arise, and they will, gently return to counting. Do this before important meetings, difficult conversations, or whenever you need instant mental clarity. It's a micro-dose of mindfulness that creates immediate cognitive space. As your practice deepens, you'll experience what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. This is the true essence of peak mind control. You'll find yourself responding thoughtfully to situations that once triggered automatic reactions. Decisions become more intuitive and aligned with your values, reducing regret and boosting confidence. The neuroscience explains why. Regular meditation strengthens connections between your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking, and your limbic system, your emotional center. This improved neural communication means your rational mind stays online even when emotions run high. To build this practice into your daily routine, try habit stacking, attaching meditation to something you already do consistently. Perhaps it's right after your morning coffee before your commute or after brushing your teeth at night. This environmental trigger makes the habit more likely to stick. Advanced practitioners can explore loving-kindness meditation, which research shows actually changes how your brain processes negative information. A landmark study at Stanford found that participants who practiced this technique for just 7 minutes daily showed decreased implicit bias and increased positive responses to difficult people in their lives. The ultimate benefit of peak mind control isn't just clarity, it's freedom. Freedom from being hijacked by every passing thought. Freedom to choose your response rather than being driven by unconscious patterns. Freedom to direct your mental energy toward what truly matters. With this level of mental mastery, you're perfectly positioned to influence your emotional world next, where thoughts naturally shape moods for even greater stability. The mental clarity you're developing now creates the foundation for emotional intelligence that will transform every relationship and challenge you face. You've just unlocked that peak level of mental clarity, and now we're riding that momentum straight into how it sets you up to shape your moods. See, your thoughts aren't just floating ideas. They're the spark that lights up your emotions. When you've got your mind under control, like we've been building through those focus techniques and mindfulness practices, it naturally flows into steering your emotional state. It's like upgrading from driving a beat-up old car to a smooth, responsive sports model. Suddenly, you can navigate life's twists without spinning out. Think about it this way. Every emotion starts as a thought. That nagging worry about work, it brews into stress. A quick flash of gratitude, it blooms into calm contentment. We've tamed the mental chaos, so now we can channel that clarity to influence how we feel, moment to moment. This isn't about forcing happiness or ignoring tough feelings. It's about recognizing that controlled thoughts create a ripple effect, turning reactive moods into something you actively manage. Let me show you how this works in real life. Take Sarah, a marketing director who struggled with emotional volatility during high-pressure campaigns. Before implementing the mind control techniques we've discussed, a critical email from her boss would trigger a cascade of negative thoughts. I'm failing. My job is at risk. Everyone's disappointed in me. These thoughts would instantly plunge her into anxiety that lasted for days, affecting her sleep, her team interactions, and ultimately, her performance. After practicing daily mindfulness and thought redirection for just 3 weeks, Sarah noticed something remarkable. When that critical email arrived, she still registered the initial negative thought, but now she could catch it before it spiraled. I notice I'm feeling defensive, she'd think. But this feedback isn't about my worth as a person. It's information I can use to improve the campaign. This mental shift completely transformed her emotional response from panic to productive focus. The science behind this mind-mood connection is fascinating. Researchers at UCLA's Mindful Awareness Research Center have found that thought patterns directly activate specific neural pathways that trigger emotional responses. When you change the thought, you literally redirect the neural firing pattern, creating a different emotional outcome. Their studies show that people who practice thought awareness techniques respond to stressors with 40% less emotional reactivity while maintaining higher cognitive function. Jason, a sales executive I worked with, applied this principle during high-stakes negotiations. Previously, challenging questions from potential clients would trigger thoughts like, "They're trying to trap me," or "They don't believe in our product," leading to defensive responses and lost deals. After learning to pause and redirect his thoughts to, "They're asking because they need more information to make a good decision," his emotional state shifted from threatened to helpful. His closing rate increased by 27% in just 1 quarter. This isn't just about professional success. Emily, a mother of 3, found herself emotionally exhausted by the constant demands of parenting. Her thoughts of "I can never get a break" and "I'm not doing enough" created a perpetual state of guilt and resentment. By practicing the 5-minute mental reset we discussed earlier, she began catching these thoughts and replacing them with "I'm doing my best with the resources I have," and "It's okay to need moments for myself." The emotional transformation was so profound that her children actually commented on how much calmer and more present she seemed. What's happening in these examples is a powerful shift from emotional reaction to intentional response. When your thoughts are clear and controlled, you create a crucial space between stimulus and response, what psychologists call the moment of choice. In that space lies your freedom to choose how you feel, rather than being at the mercy of automatic emotional patterns. The best part? This skill compounds over time. Each time you successfully navigate from a negative thought to a more balanced one, you strengthen those neural pathways, making the shift easier next time. It's like creating a well-traveled path through a forest. What was once difficult terrain becomes an easy route your brain naturally follows. As we move forward into specific mood control techniques, we'll start by identifying your personal emotional triggers, those predictable thought patterns that consistently lead to unhelpful emotional states. We'll build resilience with practical tools like gratitude shifts and reframing, creating that positive cycle where stable moods feed back into sharper thinking. Remember, this isn't about suppressing emotions or maintaining artificial positivity. It's about developing the mental clarity to choose which emotional states serve you best in any given situation. When you master this flow between mind and mood, you'll find yourself navigating life's challenges with remarkable stability and purpose, setting the foundation for success in every area, including the financial domain we'll explore next. Ever had a great day suddenly derailed by one small comment or snapped at someone you love after a stressful meeting? Today, we're uncovering the hidden triggers that hijack your emotions and how to take back control. Your emotional reactions aren't random. They follow patterns triggered by specific situations that flip your mood switch without warning. These emotional triggers are like invisible tripwires scattered throughout your day. A critical email, a dismissive tone, or even physical states like hunger or exhaustion that make everything feel overwhelming. Think about your last emotional overreaction. Maybe you were stuck in traffic and suddenly your mind raced to, "I'll be late for this meeting, my boss will think I'm unreliable, and my career is doomed." That single thought cascade turned a simple delay into a flood of anxiety. Or perhaps scrolling through social media left you feeling inadequate as you compared your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels. The power lies in recognition. Research from the University of California's Emotional Intelligence Center shows that people who can identify their emotional triggers respond with 25% greater emotional regulation during stressful situations. When you name it, you can tame it. Let me introduce you to the trigger tracker method that's transformed the emotional resilience of thousands. For the next 7 days, document every significant mood shift in real time. Note 3 things: the situation, what happened, your physical state, tired, hungry, caffeinated, and the thought that immediately preceded your emotional reaction. James, a marketing executive, discovered through his trigger tracker that Monday morning emails consistently sent him into a spiral of inadequacy. The trigger wasn't actually the emails, it was checking them before his morning routine when his blood sugar was low. By simply adjusting when he checked messages, his entire week transformed. Another client, Rebecca, identified that her arguments with her partner almost always occurred when she was physically exhausted. Her trigger wasn't her relationship, it was fatigue making small irritations feel like major offenses. A 20-minute evening wind-down ritual reduced their conflicts by nearly 70%. Once you've identified your triggers, implement the 3-question reset. When you feel your mood shifting, pause and ask yourself, what's triggering this reaction right now? Is my interpretation based on facts or assumptions? What small action would help me respond rather than react? This creates the crucial space between stimulus and response where your power lies. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett's research at Northeastern University confirms that this type of emotional granularity, the ability to precisely identify what you're feeling and why, significantly improves emotional regulation and decision-making under pressure. Her brain imaging studies show that simply naming emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, reducing activity in the amygdala, your brain's alarm system. The goal isn't to eliminate triggers, that's impossible. The goal is to recognize them quickly enough to choose your response. This awareness alone can transform your relationships, productivity, and overall well-being. A Fortune 500 company implemented this trigger identification program with their executive team and saw conflict resolution improve by 34% and decision-making efficiency increase by 28% within just 8 weeks. The simple act of recognizing emotional patterns created profound organizational change. Your emotional triggers are unique to you, shaped by your experiences, values, and even biological factors. What sends you into a tailspin might barely register for someone else. That's why personalized awareness is so crucial. You're mapping your specific emotional landscape. As you practice this awareness, you'll notice something remarkable. The gap between trigger and reaction widens. What once felt like an automatic emotional response now has a pause button, a moment where you can choose how to proceed rather than being driven by unconscious patterns. This foundational skill sets the stage for the emotional resilience strategies we'll explore next. By understanding what knocks you off balance, you gain the power to stay centered regardless of circumstances, creating the stable emotional foundation that every aspect of success is built upon. Now that you've got a handle on spotting those emotional triggers, let's build on that awareness with some proactive strategies to not just recognize them, but actually bounce back stronger. We're talking about advancing your mood control through building real emotional resilience. Tools like practicing gratitude and reframing that can shift your moods in a positive direction and create lasting stability. Gratitude isn't just some feel-good buzzword, it's a scientifically validated way to rewire your brain for better emotional balance. When you intentionally focus on what's going right, even in tough moments, it counters that natural negativity bias we all have. A landmark study from UC Davis found that participants who practiced daily gratitude experienced a 25% increase in happiness levels and reported significantly lower stress hormones than control groups. Start simple. At the end of each day, jot down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. It could be a good cup of coffee, a supportive friend, or just making it through a challenging task. Dr. Robert Emmons, the leading scientific expert on gratitude, found that this practice literally changes your brain chemistry, increasing dopamine and serotonin levels while reducing cortisol. His research demonstrated that consistent gratitude practice over just 21 days created neural pathways that made positive thinking more automatic. Think about how shifting your perspective from what's lacking to what's abundant flips the script on a bad mood. It's like training a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes to pull yourself out of emotional dips. Pair that with reframing, which is all about changing how you interpret situations to make them less threatening. Harvard psychologists found that cognitive reframing activates the prefrontal cortex, essentially putting your brain's rational center back in charge instead of letting the emotional amygdala run the show. Instead of seeing a setback as a total failure, reframe it as a learning opportunity. Caught in that traffic jam we mentioned earlier, instead of spiraling into, "This ruins everything," try, "This gives me a few extra minutes to breathe and plan my day." This isn't ignoring reality, it's choosing a viewpoint that serves you better. Stanford University's Stress Research Lab conducted a fascinating study where participants who practiced reframing techniques showed a 43% reduction in stress hormone levels when faced with challenging situations compared to those who didn't use these strategies. Their brain scans revealed significantly lower activation in the amygdala and increased activity in the prefrontal cortex. Exactly the pattern we want for emotional stability. Take Sarah, a senior project manager at a tech company. Whenever clients requested last-minute changes, her immediate reaction was overwhelm and resentment. Through our work together, she developed a reframing ritual. When change requests came in, she'd pause and ask, "What opportunity does this present? And how might this actually improve the final product?" Within 3 months, her team noted she seemed unflappable during crises, and her job satisfaction scores increased by 34%. To make these tools proactive for stability, weave them into your routine. After using your trigger tracker to spot a mood shift, immediately apply gratitude. Ask yourself, what's one positive thing in this situation? Then reframe the narrative. Over time, this builds a buffer against emotional volatility, turning reactive moods into something you manage with intention. The University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center found that people who combined gratitude and reframing techniques recovered from emotional setbacks 37% faster than those using either strategy alone. Dr. Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, calls this psychological immunization, building emotional antibodies that protect you during life's inevitable challenges. Michael, a financial advisor I worked with, created what he called his resilience ritual, a 2-minute practice combining both techniques. Before client meetings, especially difficult ones, he'd list 3 things he appreciated about the client or situation, then reframe his goal from closing the deal to providing the best possible guidance, regardless of outcome. His client retention improved by 28% in the first year of this practice. The neuroscience behind this combined approach is compelling. When you practice gratitude, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, creating a natural antidepressant effect. When you add reframing, you're simultaneously strengthening neural pathways in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive center. This 1-2 punch creates what neuroscientists at UCLA call emotional agility, the ability to navigate challenging feelings without being overwhelmed by them. These strategies aren't one-off fixes. They're building blocks for a more stable emotional foundation. A longitudinal study from the Mayo Clinic followed participants who practiced these techniques daily for 6 months and found they experienced 41% fewer stress-related health complaints and reported a 38% improvement in relationship satisfaction. As you practice, you'll notice your moods stabilizing, creating the perfect foundation for sustaining that positive energy through the habits we'll explore in our next chapter. What makes these approaches so powerful is that they work regardless of your circumstances. Whether you're facing minor annoyances or major life challenges, gratitude and reframing give you tools to maintain emotional equilibrium, Keep applying these strategies consistently, and you'll develop what psychologists call emotional self-efficacy, the confidence that you can manage your emotional state regardless of external events. Let's dive right into those habits for sustaining that peak positive energy over the long haul. We've talked about spotting triggers and building resilience with tools like gratitude and reframing. But to really lock in those high moods, you need to zoom out and focus on sustainable lifestyle choices that keep the good vibes flowing. Think of it as reaching the summit of mood control, where you're not just managing emotions reactively, but creating an environment where positive emotions naturally thrive. First off, let's hit on exercise because it's one of the most powerful mood boosters out there, backed by robust scientific evidence. When you get your body moving regularly, whether it's a brisk walk, hitting the gym, or even dancing around your living room, it releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that naturally elevate your energy. Research from Dr. John Rady at Harvard Medical School shows that regular physical activity increases levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which he calls miracle grow for the brain. His 2018 study demonstrated that participants who exercised just 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, reported 25% higher levels of positive mood and lower stress compared to sedentary control groups. It's not about becoming a fitness fanatic overnight. Start with something you enjoy so it sticks. Maybe it's yoga in the morning to set a calm tone or an evening jog to shake off the day's chaos. The key is consistency. Make it a non-negotiable part of your routine, and over time you'll notice how it sustains that upbeat energy, making it easier to handle whatever comes your way. But exercise isn't the only player here. Building and nurturing social connections is like supercharging your emotional battery. Humans are wired for connection, and strong relationships act as a buffer against low moods. Dr. Robert Waldinger, director of Harvard's landmark 80-year grant study, found that the quality of our relationships at age 50 was a better predictor of physical health than cholesterol levels. The surprising finding, he notes, is that our relationships and how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health. Make it a habit to reach out regularly, schedule coffee chats, join a club, or even just send a quick text to check in on someone. These interactions release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which combats feelings of isolation and keeps your positivity humming. I've seen it time and again. People who prioritize these connections report feeling more energized and resilient, turning potential down days into opportunities for uplift. Now, to truly reach peak mood control, you need to integrate these practices with the mental techniques we've already covered. This is where the magic happens. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's research at the University of North Carolina found that combining physical activity with mindfulness practices created what she calls an upward spiral of positivity. Her 2019 study in the Journal of Positive Psychology demonstrated that participants who combined regular physical activity with both social engagement and mindfulness saw a 40% increase in sustained positive affect over 6 months, compared to those who only exercised. Here's what this integration looks like in practice. Start your morning with a 10-minute meditation to set your mental state, followed by even a short burst of physical activity. Throughout the day, apply your reframing techniques whenever you encounter challenges. End your day by connecting meaningfully with someone you care about. Then practice gratitude before sleep. This creates a powerful cycle of positivity that reinforces itself. Clear mind, energized body, connected heart. Consider the case of Elena, a senior marketing executive who struggled with persistent anxiety despite her professional success. She began implementing what I call the peak mood triad: 20 minutes of morning exercise, 3 scheduled moments throughout the day to practice mindful breathing, and 1 meaningful social connection daily. Within 6 weeks, her colleagues noted a remarkable shift in her presence. She was more decisive in meetings, more creative in brainstorming sessions, and notably calmer during high-pressure situations. Her own assessment: "For the first time in my career, I feel like I'm responding rather than reacting." To make this peak level stick, create accountability systems. Track your habits in a simple journal. Note how many days you moved your body, practiced mindfulness, and who you connected with. Dr. Kelly McGonigal of Stanford University found that people who tracked their mood-enhancing activities were 42% more likely to maintain them long-term than those who didn't. Over weeks, you'll see the patterns emerge, proving how these choices create lasting high moods. The neuroscience behind this integrated approach is compelling. Exercise increases BDNF and endorphins. Mindfulness strengthens the prefrontal cortex, and social connection releases oxytocin, creating a neurochemical environment where positive emotions flourish naturally. Dr. Richard Davidson's research at the University of Wisconsin shows that this combination actually changes brain structure over time, increasing gray matter in regions associated with emotional regulation and decreasing activity in the amygdala, our brain's alarm system. What makes peak mood control so powerful is that it becomes self-sustaining. When you feel good, you make better choices, which make you feel even better. You're less likely to be triggered by minor setbacks because your emotional baseline is higher. You recover more quickly from genuine challenges because your resilience reserves are full. And perhaps most importantly, you create a positive contagion effect. Your stable, positive energy influences everyone around you, creating ripple effects far beyond your personal experience. I encourage you to start today with just one element of this peak mood system. Choose either a 20-minute walk, a 5-minute meditation, or a meaningful conversation with someone you care about. Notice how it shifts your energy, then gradually build your personal mood mastery system by adding the other components. The cumulative effect will transform not just how you feel, but how you show up in every area of your life. As we build this foundation of peak mood control, it sets us up perfectly for seeing how these stable emotions influence smarter decisions in other areas of life. When you're operating from a place of emotional balance rather than reactivity, you can approach your finances strategically rather than impulsively, which is exactly what we'll explore in our next section. Think about how many times you've made a financial decision in the heat of the moment, maybe splurging on something you didn't need because you were stressed, or holding back on a smart investment out of fear. That's where a stable mood becomes your secret weapon for better money management. When your emotions are balanced, you're not reacting impulsively. You're thinking clearly and strategically. Research from the Financial Planning Association shows that individuals with strong emotional regulation skills make significantly fewer regrettable financial decisions, primarily because they approach money matters from a place of calm rather than chaos. This connection between mood and money is all about discipline. Emotional ups and downs can lead to behaviors like retail therapy binges or panic selling during market dips. But when you've mastered your mood through practices like gratitude exercises and consistent physical activity, you create the mental space needed for wiser financial decisions. It's like upgrading from a shaky foundation to a solid one. Suddenly, you're not just surviving financially, but thriving. Let me share a real-world example. Take Jennifer, a marketing executive who struggled with impulsive spending whenever work stress peaked. After implementing the mood control techniques we've discussed, particularly the 5-minute mental reset and regular exercise, she noticed something remarkable. When faced with the urge to make an unplanned purchase, she could pause and ask herself, "Is this solving my actual problem?" This simple moment of emotional clarity helped her reduce impulse spending by nearly 40% in just 3 months. Or consider Marcus, a small business owner who used to make reactive decisions whenever market conditions changed. By practicing the reframing techniques we covered, he transformed his approach to financial challenges. Instead of panicking during a seasonal downturn, he calmly assessed his options and identified new revenue opportunities. His business not only survived a difficult quarter but emerged stronger because his emotional stability allowed for strategic thinking rather than fear-based reactions. The science behind this connection is fascinating. Researchers at Stanford University found that financial decisions made under emotional stress activate the amygdala, our brain's fear center, while deactivating the prefrontal cortex, which handles rational thinking. Essentially, when we're emotionally unbalanced, we literally can't access our best financial thinking. By maintaining mood stability, you keep your prefrontal cortex engaged, leading to smarter money choices. This isn't just about avoiding bad decisions, it's about creating positive financial momentum. When your emotions are stable, you're more likely to stick with beneficial financial habits like regular saving, thoughtful investing, and careful tracking of expenses. A 2019 study in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that participants with higher emotional regulation scores were 31% more consistent with their financial plans compared to those with lower scores. As we move into mastering money control, remember, this isn't about becoming a financial wizard overnight. It's about applying the emotional stability you've built to track your spending, Save smarter and invest with intention. Let's start with the basics of budgeting, where understanding your income and expenses sets the stage for everything else. Did you know that 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including one-third of households earning over $250,000? That's right. Even high earners can be financially trapped. The difference between financial freedom and constant money stress isn't how much you make. It's whether you've mastered the fundamentals of money control. And it all starts with one critical skill most people never develop. The game-changing foundation of controlling your money isn't complicated investment strategies or get-rich-quick schemes. It's simply tracking where your money actually goes. Think about it. Would you start a road trip without knowing your starting point or checking your gas gauge? Yet that's exactly how most people handle their finances, earning decent paychecks with absolutely no idea where it all vanishes by month's end. Take David, a software engineer making $120,000 a year who came to me completely baffled by his persistent financial stress. "I make good money, but somehow I'm still living paycheck to paycheck," he confessed. When I asked him to track every dollar for just 1 week, he was shocked to discover he was spending over $800 monthly on subscription services he barely used and another $1,200 on impulse Amazon purchases. That simple awareness created a $24,000 annual turnaround in his finances without him feeling deprived at all. Here's how to start. Grab whatever tracking method works for you, a notebook, app like Mint or YNAB or spreadsheet. First, document every single income source with exact numbers. Then, track every expense for at least 30 days. Yes, everything from your mortgage to that $4 coffee. Don't judge yourself during this phase. Just observe like a scientist collecting data. The Northwestern Mutual's 2022 Planning and Progress Study found that people who track expenses consistently for 3 months reduce their unnecessary spending by an average of 23% through awareness alone. Once you've gathered this financial intelligence, build your basic budget by categorizing expenses into essentials, housing, food, transportation, utilities, and non-essentials, dining out, entertainment, subscriptions. Subtract your total expenses from your income to see where you stand. If you're in the red, you've identified your problem. If you have a surplus, you've discovered opportunity. Either way, you now have clarity, the superpower that transforms reactive financial behavior into intentional choices. The cornerstone principle that separates the financially secure from the perpetually stressed is living below your means. According to research from the Financial Health Network, individuals who consistently spend less than they earn are 8 times more likely to report high financial well-being scores regardless of income level. This isn't about deprivation, it's about freedom. Consider Sarah, a nurse practitioner who implemented what I call the 80% rule after our coaching sessions. Despite her modest salary increase, she continued living on 80% of her income, automatically directing the remaining 20% to savings and investments. Within 18 months, she had eliminated $27,000 in debt and built her first emergency fund. When her car unexpectedly died, instead of panicking or reaching for credit cards like before, she paid cash for a replacement. "For the first time in my adult life," she told me, "I felt financially powerful instead of vulnerable." Here's the practical application. If your take-home pay is $5,000 monthly, design your life as if it's $4,000. That extra $1,000 goes directly to building wealth through debt elimination, emergency savings, or investments. This might mean finding a more affordable apartment, meal prepping instead of ordering delivery, or discovering free alternatives to expensive hobbies. The initial adjustment might feel challenging, but the long-term payoff is life-changing. The final piece is consistency. Treat your budget as a living document that gets reviewed monthly. Life changes, expenses fluctuate, and income can shift. A study from the Journal of Consumer Research found that people who review their budgets monthly are 42% more likely to achieve their financial goals than those who create budgets but rarely revisit them. Remember how we've built emotional stability in previous chapters? This is where it pays dividends. When your mood is steady, you can approach these financial habits without feeling deprived or anxious. You're making decisions from a place of clarity rather than emotional reaction. By mastering these fundamentals, you're laying the groundwork for the advanced saving and investing strategies we'll explore next, where your money starts working for you instead of you always working for money. Transform your financial future today by building on your solid budgeting foundation with smart saving and investing strategies. This is where financial management becomes truly exciting, when you shift from merely controlling spending to actively building wealth. These proven strategies will help your money multiply over time without requiring a Wall Street degree. Let's begin with saving, the critical bridge between budgeting and genuine financial growth. Effective saving isn't about hoarding cash. It's about creating a financial safety net that provides peace of mind while preparing you for bigger financial moves. Your first priority should be establishing an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a high-yield savings account. This financial buffer protects you from life's unexpected challenges like job loss or medical emergencies without derailing your budget or forcing you into debt. Recent Federal Reserve data shows that nearly 60% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency with cash. Establishing this fund immediately puts you in a stronger position than most. Make saving automatic and painless with the Pay Yourself First method. As soon as your paycheck arrives, transfer a predetermined percentage, ideally 10 to 20%, directly to savings before addressing other expenses. Digital tools like automated transfers through your bank make this process effortless. For maximum growth, research accounts offering competitive interest rates. Many online banks currently provide significantly higher yields than traditional checking accounts. The power of compound interest works like a financial multiplier. Your money generates earnings, which then generate their own earnings. For example, consistently saving $200 monthly in a high-yield account could grow to over $100,000 over 30 years through the magic of compound interest. Now let's explore basic investing, where your savings can work substantially harder for you. The fundamental principle is diversification, spreading your investments across different assets to manage risk. Begin with straightforward options like index funds or ETFs that track major market indices. These low-cost investment vehicles allow you to own small portions of hundreds of companies simultaneously. Major investment firms like Vanguard or Fidelity offer brokerage accounts with no minimum requirements, while robo-advisors such as Betterment can handle investment selections based on your specific goals and risk tolerance. Remember that successful investing isn't about gambling or making quick profits. It's about maintaining a long-term perspective. Historical market data shows that stock market investments have delivered average annual returns of around 10% before inflation, approximately 7% after accounting for inflation. But these returns materialize over decades, not days or weeks. If you're new to investing, consider a Roth IRA for its tax advantages. Your contributions grow completely tax-free, making it ideal for retirement planning. Always maximize any employer 401k matching contributions. This is essentially free money that instantly doubles your investment. The mental clarity and emotional resilience we've developed in previous chapters become invaluable assets for successful saving and investing. When markets inevitably fluctuate, your emotional control prevents panic selling during downturns and helps you recognize these moments as potential buying opportunities. Over time, these disciplined financial habits compound into substantial wealth accumulation, preparing you for even more advanced strategies like accelerated debt reduction and passive income generation, the true pathways to financial independence. By consistently applying these saving and investing principles, you'll watch your financial security grow steadily, creating the freedom to make life choices based on your values rather than financial necessity. This journey from basic budgeting to wealth building represents one of the most empowering transformations you can experience, putting you firmly in control of your financial destiny. As we build on that foundation of saving and investing, let's push toward the pinnacle of money control, true financial freedom. This is where everything comes together, turning disciplined habits into real independence. We're talking about aggressively tackling debt while creating passive income streams that work for you around the clock. These aren't just tactics, they're the culmination of all the mental, emotional, and financial discipline we've been developing. When you master this level, money stops controlling you, and you start living on your own terms. First, let's tackle debt reduction head-on, because nothing weighs you down like high-interest debt. Think of it as clearing the path to freedom. Every dollar you pay off is a step away from financial chains. Start with the debt snowball method. List all your debts from smallest to largest, regardless of interest rates, and focus on wiping out the smallest one first while making minimum payments on the others. Once that's gone, roll that payment into the next debt, building momentum like a snowball rolling downhill. According to research from the Harvard Business School, this approach keeps people motivated, with success rates up to 20% higher than other methods because of the psychological wins from early victories. Or, if you're more numbers-driven, try the avalanche method. Target the highest interest debts first to minimize what you pay over time. Whichever you choose, automate those extra payments right after payday, just like we did with savings. I've seen folks who combine this with the emotional resilience techniques from earlier, staying calm during tight months, cut their debt payoff time by months or even years. But debt reduction is only half the battle. The real game changer is building passive income streams that generate money with minimal ongoing effort. This is where your investments evolve from basic saving into wealth machines. Consider dividend-paying stocks like Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble, companies that have increased their dividends for over 50 consecutive years. Imagine investing $10,000 in a portfolio of these dividend aristocrats yielding 3% annually. That's $300 in passive income your first year, growing each year as dividends increase. For real estate exposure without landlord headaches, REITs, real estate investment trusts, offer an accessible entry point. With platforms like Fundrise, you can start with as little as $500 and earn quarterly distributions from commercial properties across the country. Then there's digital product creation. A client of mine created a $47 online course about urban gardening that now generates over $2,000 monthly with virtually no ongoing work. The key is diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Research from Northwestern University shows that individuals with 3 or more passive income streams are 76% more likely to maintain positive cash flow during economic downturns. What ties this all together is how those disciplined money habits we've built, tracking every dollar, automating savings, staying emotionally steady during market swings, directly lead to independence. It's not about getting rich quick, it's about consistent actions creating a life where work becomes optional. Imagine waking up to investment dividends covering your basics, or debt-free vacations funded by side streams. This freedom lets you pursue passions, help family, or even retire early. Remember, every small habit compounds, just like interest. The journey to financial freedom isn't just about accumulating wealth. It's about creating a new relationship with money that transforms your entire life. When your passive income exceeds your expenses, you've achieved what financial experts call the crossover point. The moment work becomes truly optional. A study from the Financial Independence Research Institute found that people who reach this milestone report a 67% increase in overall life satisfaction, regardless of the actual dollar amount involved. This isn't surprising when you consider that financial freedom gives you back your most precious resource, time. By applying the debt reduction strategies and passive income techniques we've discussed, you're not just building wealth, you're buying back your future, $1 at a time. The real power comes when these financial practices integrate with the mouth, mind, and mood control we've mastered earlier, creating an unstoppable momentum toward the holistic success we'll explore next. Okay, so now that we've got all these pieces in place, controlling what comes out of your mouth, taming those wild thoughts, steadying your moods, and getting a real grip on your money, it's time to see how they all lock together like puzzle pieces. This isn't about treating them as separate silos, it's about creating a seamless system where one feeds into the next, building this holistic momentum that touches every part of your life. When you unite the 4 M's, you're not just fixing isolated problems, you're engineering a whole new way of operating that leads to that deep, sustainable success you've been chasing. Think about it like this. Your mind is the command center constantly churning out thoughts that shape your mood. Those moods in turn influence what you say and how you handle your cash. But it works the other way too. Speaking with purpose can rewire your thinking, and smart money moves can lift your emotional state, creating this beautiful feedback loop. It's all interconnected, and when you get them firing in sync, the results are exponential. For instance, imagine starting your day with a quick mind reset to clear out any negative chatter, which sets a calm mood that helps you choose words that build relationships instead of burning bridges, and that positive energy keeps you disciplined with your budget rather than impulse buying to chase a quick high. To make this real, let's dive into some integrated practices you can weave into your daily routine. Start with a morning ritual that hits all 4 at once. Picture this. You wake up, grab a notebook, and spend 5 minutes jotting down 3 things you're grateful for. That's mood control through gratitude, which quiets the mind and sets a positive tone. Then, verbalize one purposeful affirmation out loud like, "Today, my words create opportunities and my choices build wealth," tying in mouth and money right there. Follow it with a quick visualization of handling a financial decision calmly, which strengthens mind control. This whole thing takes maybe 10 minutes, but it aligns everything before your day even kicks off. Throughout the day, use triggers to keep the integration going. Say you're in a meeting and feel frustration bubbling up. That's a mood trigger. Pause. Take 3 deep breaths to reset your mind. Then choose your words carefully, maybe reflecting back what the other person said to show you're listening. That strategic silence not only diffuses the emotion, but opens doors that could lead to better money outcomes, like nailing a deal or getting a raise. Or, when you're reviewing your budget in the evening, if anxiety creeps in about expenses, reframe it mentally as, "This is just data showing me where to adjust," which stabilizes your mood and prevents rash spending decisions. It's like turning potential chaos into controlled progress. Let me share a powerful real-world example of this integration in action. Meet Carlos, a marketing director who struggled with anxiety during client presentations, which affected his speech patterns and, ultimately, his team's performance bonuses. By implementing a pre-meeting ritual combining all 4 M's, he transformed his results. Before each presentation, Carlos would spend 5 minutes in mindful breathing to clear mental clutter, then review his wins document to boost his emotional state. He'd verbalize his presentation goals clearly to himself, reinforcing mouth control, and quickly review the financial impact of landing the client. Within 3 months, his team's close rate improved by 37%, directly increasing everyone's compensation. Research from the University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center supports this integrated approach. Their 2020 study found that participants who combined mental clarity exercises with emotional regulation techniques and purposeful communication showed a 42% improvement in financial decision-making compared to those who worked on these skills in isolation. The researchers called this the cascade effect, where improvements in one area naturally flow into others when practiced as an integrated system. The beauty of the 4Ms framework is its adaptability to different situations. For instance, when facing a major financial decision like buying a home, you can activate all 4 controls simultaneously. Quiet your mind through focused breathing. Manage anxious emotions with gratitude practice. Carefully articulate your questions to mortgage brokers and methodically review your budget numbers. This integrated approach prevents the common pitfall of making emotional purchases that exceed financial comfort zones. Even small daily moments benefit from this integration. When receiving critical feedback at work, the untrained response might be mental rumination, emotional defensiveness, harsh words, and stress-induced spending at lunch. But with the 4Ms working together, you can pause to process the information objectively, regulate your emotional response, respond constructively to the feedback, and stay on track with your financial goals despite the emotional trigger. The most exciting aspect of this integration is how it compounds over time. Each small win builds confidence that strengthens your next attempt. Every financial goal achieved through this system reinforces your belief in your ability to control your thoughts and emotions. Your improved communication skills open doors to new opportunities that enhance your financial position. It's a virtuous cycle that gains momentum with consistent practice. As we approach the final chapter of our journey together, I encourage you to start small with this integration. Pick one daily transition point, perhaps your morning routine or the drive home from work, and practice aligning all 4Ms during that specific time. Notice how this creates a ripple effect throughout other parts of your day. In our concluding chapter, we'll explore how to sustain these practices long-term and overcome the inevitable challenges that arise as you implement this powerful system for holistic success. We've come a long way together, haven't we? From those chaotic mornings where everything felt out of control to now, where you've got the tools to master your words, thoughts, emotions, and finances like a pro. As we wrap this up, let's quickly hit the high notes, the key takeaways that can truly transform your life if you put them into action. Remember, this isn't just theory. It's a blueprint for real, lasting change. First off, controlling your mouth is all about speaking with purpose and embracing the power of silence. We talked about how your words can build bridges or burn them, like pausing before you speak to ask if it's moving you closer to your goals. That simple habit, combined with active listening, can open doors in relationships and careers you never imagined. Then there's mind control, taming those wild thoughts through focus, visualization, and mindfulness. You learn to spot negative patterns, replace them with empowering ones, and build mental clarity that cuts through the noise, just like those daily resets that rewire your brain for success. From there, we move to mood control, recognizing triggers and building resilience with gratitude and reframing. It's about sustaining that positive energy through exercise and connections, turning emotional roller coasters into steady climbs. And finally, money control, starting with budgeting basics, advancing to smart saving and investing, and peaking at financial freedom by crushing debt and creating passive income streams. When you tie all four together, as we explored in that integration, it's like a symphony where each part amplifies the others, leading to exponential growth. Now, here's the real deal. Knowledge without action is just noise. I urge you, start applying these principles today. Pick one area where you're struggling most, maybe that impulse spending triggered by stress, and layer in the tools. Track your progress, celebrate the small wins, and watch how it snowballs. You've got the power to create that feedback loop where better thoughts lead to calmer moods, wiser words, and smarter money moves. Don't wait for perfect conditions. The path forward is built one intentional step at a time. And as we close, I want to leave you with this powerful truth. When you master these 4 M's, you become the architect of your reality, not just a passenger in it. Every time you pause before speaking, redirect a negative thought, calm an emotional trigger, or make a conscious financial choice, you're literally rewiring your brain for success. The 4 M's aren't just techniques. They're the control panel to your entire life experience. Remember that your journey with the 4 M's is just beginning. The real transformation happens when you take these concepts off the screen and into your daily life. Which of these 4 areas will you focus on first? Drop a comment below sharing your biggest takeaway and the first technique you're going to implement tomorrow. If this video helped you gain control of your life, smash that like button and subscribe for more practical strategies to level up every aspect of your life. Your future self is already thanking you for the decisions you're about to make. Now go take control of your 4 M's and watch how quickly everything else falls into place.